The following is an Operation Podcast production.
The minimum method. Let's talk about this concept of you don't have to have all of the tools, all of the protocols, all the time in the world to get the body of your dreams.
So, I mean, what is your dream body? What does that look like? It might be looking like me. It might be looking like Arnold. It might be just be like, being able to look down and see your feet because your belly got smaller. How do you set your path to get to the why? Everyone's like, oh, I want to hit this goal. I want to hit this, but like we need to set these steps in place to get there. Well, what do I do for nutrition? Can we add more good things? What do I need to take out? Let's add more fruits and vegetables. You'll get a study at University of Michigan, people that added more fruits and vegetables ate 500 less calories a day. It took you how long to gain that 30 pounds? 10 years. And it's going to come off in 10 days? Well, just juice cleanse, just whatever. I can do that. And the food weight is going to be down. You're going to lose the weight on the scale. But how about we talk about losing fat and maintaining muscle tissue? Like we should change the language of, I need to lose weight to I need to lose fat and maintain as much muscle as possible. But most people are just trying to level up. They're not trying to max out.
What's up? This is Joey Thurman, health, fitness, nutrition expert. This is Ever Forward Radio. Stay right here and keep moving forward.
Joey, for somebody who just tuned in right now, they've never heard of me, the show, or you before, give them one reason to stick around.
We're going to live life ever forward by looking back and appreciating where we're at, but being honest with ourselves that it's okay to want more in life. And it's okay to say, man, I did great. I'm proud of myself. I think too often now that we get lost or embarrassed that we just can't say, man, I crushed today. You look great. You know what? I feel great. Thank you. Like, let's go. Let's absorb it.
Look good, feel good, man.
Look good, feel good.
Like I said, where the mind goes, the body will follow.
Yes.
It's a good reminder, man.
Yeah.
So also, for somebody who doesn't know who you are, can you walk us through a little bit of your professional background, your expertise? Like, who is this guy sitting here talking to me about all the fitness things?
That's a loaded question. It's like when my wife's like, I don't even know what to say, what you do for a living. Like, I don't really know. My resume is 3.5 pages long, but I'd say my wheelhouse was fitness, and then it became nutrition, metabolism specialist, celebrity trainer, if you will, TV host, a couple times author, now executive producer, consultants. I do a lot of different things. I vomit a little bit when I say influencer, like for me, like who am I influencing in my personal life? And then now I started taking a whole different look at like, how can I actually influence those people who follow me online, and how am I going to live that life that's pushing them forward, right? Or ever forward. So I'll pun that all day long.
See, my man knows the message.
I got you. But like that's just it. I did a whole TED talk called Like Me, Follow Me, Unbrand Me. About, like everybody's like, you gotta be a brand, you gotta do this. I'm like, but what about myself? Who am I? And then trying to hit these expectations that somebody else was setting for me and not me setting for myself. Diagnosed with clinical depression at 14, which, our fellow friend Tamron Hall, I went on her show talking about that. And I do a lot, and I'm always changing, I'm always adapting, and sometimes I'm regressing, and that's okay. And it took a long time for me to realize that I've got these demons, but to love them, to love that I have hate for myself, to love that I have love for myself, right? To love that I have joy for myself. And that has changed my life from having that concept. Like, you shouldn't feel bad. You shouldn't feel nervous. I should be nervous. Nerves mean I care. And just realizing that myself and my language and reframing, rewiring, repurposing, that really helps out. So hopefully that was a little elevator pitch on what I do, if you will. But I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a multiple godfather. I'm a son, sometimes shitty. I'm a brother, often shitty. That's it. That's me. And I try to be honest. I'm an open book with some closed chapters.
Go back to what you said about you love that you have hate for yourself. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So I've done a lot of work on myself, and as I said, clinical depression at 14. I don't know whether that's multiple concussions and parents divorced to each other twice. Yeah, it didn't work the first time. Didn't work. Yeah,
married
to each other
divorced,
twice.
Married again.
Yeah,
divorced
you
again.
heard that right.
Wow. Nobody can say they didn't try.
They got married twice. Not quite sure the drawing was completely there. Mom and Dad love you. But yeah, like it's one of those things where I always had this point where like things could be going spectacular for me. I could be coming on your show. I could be, producing this massive, production. I could be meeting all these people, and all of a sudden I get back to the hotel and I'm like, why am I here? What's my life about? Like, why should I be here? Why should I wake up tomorrow? And it was freaky. It freaks me out every time that happens. Don't get me wrong. But then I realized that I needed to start embracing these emotions and embracing this hatred, the self-loathing that I have, and always like the victim mentality or looking at somebody else and like, I need that, and not just stopping and just being grateful and gracious for where I'm at in I call her therapist. She tells me life coach. She's like, here's what I want you to do. I want you to write down on a piece of paper or, digitally now, everything you've done in your career. She's like, because you don't think you're successful. I'm like, no, I don't. It was like 4 pages long. I wrote down all of this. And she goes, now I want you to have your wife look at it. And I want her to add things. And your mom and your dad. So I just spoke to them about it. I didn't have them like write it down. And I was like, wow. So my success was dictated on looking at a bank account as opposed to all these other people like, wow, I wish I was on these shows. I wish I did this. I wish I, did all these different things.
Because they probably weren't contributing the same successes as you were writing down.
Exactly, right. So
they were drastically different. Were there any overlaps?
Yeah, I mean, there were some overlaps for sure. And I was like, oh, did you realize that you had your own Facebook Watch series? I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Did you remember that you were trained Terrence Howard for Empire? I'm like, oh God, I didn't write that down. Like all this sort of stuff, where people see this success and I didn't see it as a success because I did okay monetarily, but because my bank account hadn't set a certain amount that we had to take help from my in-laws when COVID hit and I had to go on unemployment. And that was crazy because I was traveling the country doing mixed fitness, which was bought by Beachbody, hosting High Rocks, World Series of Fitness, like all this sort of stuff. And then everything just stopped. And then for months during COVID, I'm like, why me? Whatever, like just whole victim thing. And then I realized like, what? Let me really get deep into myself and then appreciate seeing my son grow up now where I'd be traveling. I wouldn't get to see him running down the hallway. He would run down the hallway and say, babasum, Greek for dad. And normally I wasn't home at that time. Like, wow, I didn't get to experience this. So once I started appreciating that, then all the stuff during COVID, I get a call from Beachbody. I signed this book deal and all these things started happening. So then, moving forward here, then I get all these opportunities and all of a sudden like I'm in New York actually getting ready to go on Tamron the second time.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to meet up with one of my buddies who was a big like CNN producer at the time. And I just texted my dude, I don't know what's going on with me. I'm on the 13th floor right now and I'm trying to open the window. I was like, holy shit. And he just texted me back. He's like, I love you. It's okay that you're not going to meet me tonight. Take care of yourself. I'm like, wow. As opposed to like where I used to lie about it. I'm like, hey man, I'm busy. I can't meet up tonight. My flight's delayed. But somebody who truly cares about you is going to have that response. And be like, love you. I miss you. I wish we could hang out tonight, but I get it. You need time to yourself. And like being honest with my friends and being honest with my family and being honest when I hit those times, like, if I didn't feel great today, I'd walk in and be like, hey, Chase, how you doing? I'm like, my man, what? Great. I'm like, not a great day, but I'm here. And being honest with myself first, because that's number one. And then everybody else around me has really just helped me just keep moving along and embrace my success that I've had, even though my bank account isn't showing it, it's getting there. Like where we've got some things in the works. So I'm happy about that. But at the same time, like success is what you define it as. And I'm not looking at the definition of success of having, how many zeros in my bank account. Now it's everything else I wrote down on a piece of paper. It's what everybody else thinks about me. It's about like the tiny little town in Columbia, Illinois by St. Louis I grew up at. I get messages on Facebook all the time. We're so proud of you. Like you're our local hero. I'm like, I didn't even talk to you. Like you never talked to me. Like, oh, we always looked up to you. Yeah. We said you left, you got out type thing. Like I don't like when people say that, right? It's not a prison. But then I started like just taking all of these accomplishments that I didn't see for myself and embracing them. I'm like, wow, yes, I hate myself, but that's okay. That's gonna surpass in the next hour, next day, and it may last for a few days, but then embrace the love and embrace the joy, embrace these little things, and you can have a bad moment during a good day, as opposed to that bad moment making that good day bad.
The minimum method. Let's talk about this concept of you don't have to have all of the tools, all of the protocols, all the time in the world to get the body of your dreams. If people even want the dream body anymore. I think a lot of people now I just don't want my back to hurt when I get out of bed. I just want to, have some biomarkers in my labs go down because I got diabetics in my family, cardiovascular disease in my family.
So, what is your dream body? What does that look like? It might be looking like me. It might be looking like Arnold. It might be just be like, being able to look down and see your feet because your belly got smaller. And that's what's the definition? Everybody's like talking about like my why, and knowing your why is great, but how do you get to your why? Right?
What do you mean by that?
Like, how do you set your path to get to the why? Everyone's like, oh, I want to hit this goal. I want to hit this, but like we need to set these steps in place to get there. So when I was coming up with the concept of the book, I was really like, okay, so I've got all these general questions that people always ask me. It's like, I'll get an elevator. What protein supplement do you take, bro? What's your workout? I'm like, you want me to answer that in 10 seconds for you? Yeah. But most people are struggling to get off the couch to the starting line. They're not already in the race, hitting the finish line. So in the book, there's 3 archetypes. Let's go. That's your person on the couch. Is where do we start, right? Nutrition, fitness, mental health, supplementation. Where do you start? Level up. That's the person kind of like in the starting line in the race. And then max out. That might be you and me. Like, okay, let's take our ketone shot before this. Let's optimize our sleep. Let's wear this tracker. Let's do the ketamine therapy. Like, that's the person like that. There is this in the book, and at the end of every chapter is basically cliff notes, and you can look and see like, are you let's go, level up, whatever your archetype is, or max out, and you can pick the things from there and kind of like do a little checklist. Like, you don't need, most people don't read a book anyways. I'm like, let me put some cliff notes at the end of each chapter.
Smart author,
right? Yeah,
Smart author,
yeah. So you check that off, right? So I'm writing that for that person who's trying to get off the couch. Okay, so what's the least you can do for your sleep? Oh, I can't sleep 8 hours a night. Okay, can you sleep 6 consistently? Same bedtime, same wake. Oh, 7 days a week, not 5 days a week. Yeah, I can do that. But I need 8, like optimally. Sure, 7.5, 8, 9, depends on the person. Yes. Okay, but I can do 6, so just regulating your circadian rhythm. Well, what do I do for nutrition? Can we add more good things? What do I need to take out? Let's add more fruits and vegetables. You've got a study at University of Michigan, people that added more fruits and vegetables ate 500 less calories a day. And they all had options to process food and everything. Why? Because they had more fiber, more micronutrients. Like,
they're more satiated.
Right. Yeah. They're more satiated. So they just naturally ate 500 less calories. And for the simplistic math, and obviously it doesn't always work like this. I know even though 3,500 calorie deficit, right? That's 3,500 in a week, 500 less. So you should be losing around a pound per week just from adding that in. But how much protein? Like, that matters. But right now, what can you add? And then we'll look at what you can take away for nutrition. Supplementation, like all these different things and these ketone shots and whatever. Like, sure, at a minimum, like maybe a multivitamin and a fish oil, maybe some creatine. Okay, cool. Vitamin D, like simple, right? Like a multi would probably take care of most people. But what about this person? What about this podcast? Like, what about these biomarkers? Let's just do this one thing. This is one thing. You add 100 different supplements and you feel great. Which out of those 100 worked? I can't work out like you. Like, good. You don't need to work out like me. Like, how how much I need to work out to like add this much muscle tissue? That's great. Well, who wants to work out that much? That is a lot, but I like doing it, right? Can you start with 3 10-minute walks a day after your meals? Wait, I don't have 30 minutes. I said, I didn't tell you 30 minutes in a row. I said 10 plus 10 plus 10. 10 minutes a day. Well, what? After a meal? Yeah, digestion, nutrient absorption. What if it's cold outside? Well, great. Use that. That's going to be good, right? That'll bring out the metabolic rate. Now do it backwards outside. Be the Looney Tune in the neighborhood walking around backwards. Like, good for knee health. What? Like, do that. Okay, if it's raining, walk up and down your stairs, 10 minutes. I don't have stairs. Walk back and forth, 10 minutes, 3 times a day. That's 30 minutes of movement a day, like minimum. And that right there, those simplistic things add up over time. So it's not intensity over consistency. Have the consistency and then add the intensity. Because look at January every year, what happens? Same thing. People are like, oh, high school 30 years ago, I used to squat this and whatever, and they go in and they crush it 2-3 times a day and they're wrecked and they think they need to be sore and they can't sit down and take a shit and they got to run a board meeting and they got a red-eye flight and all of a sudden they're stressed completely. Like, you could have just started like lifting 1 day a week.
It becomes so
2 days a week.
counterproductive.
Yeah. You could have done one set.
Yeah.
One working set, right? Like after your warm up. One set for each body part. And if you're within 1 to 3 reps, you're still going to grow off that. But in high school, you're not in high school, bro. It's 30 years ago. Like you can literally that at a minimum, you can do that. You tell me you don't have time, you get that done in 20 minutes. And then next week, maybe add an extra set, add an extra 5 pounds. That's overload. Whoa. Like literally, people don't look at it that way. They don't back off. They think about just going exponentially as hard as they can. It took you how long to gain that 30 pounds? 10 years. And it's going to come off in 10 days? Well, just juice cleanse, just whatever. Like, yeah, you can shit your brains out for 2 weeks. You can do that. And the food weight is going to be down. You're going to lose the weight on the scale. But how about we talk about losing fat and maintaining muscle tissue? Like we should change the language of, I need to lose weight to I need to lose fat and maintain as much muscle as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What's the most protective thing that we can do is just have that muscle tissue. And picking up a weight or walking is like literally the easiest thing that we can do. And just stress your body just a little bit. You don't have to go too much, because when you go too much, people just feel like they're too sore and they feel like it's too much and they can't maintain it. The little nominal things, and eventually, you have that awareness, and then you have that consistency, like I say ACL, awareness, consistency, and love, and that's self-love for yourself, right? So have the self-love, and like, I don't have to work out, I get to work out. I get to take this 10 minutes. If you're always a person that's like always taking care of everybody else, but you're not taking care of yourself, how can you be there to take care of everybody else if you don't have that self-love?
Yeah.
And that's literally that simplistic, but also that complex for people to like, I saw this on social media, I saw that, or these biomarkers, these testing and whatever. It's all great. Love that. Love, you and I love that. But most people are just trying to level up. They're not trying to max out.
This concept of adding things to your life, adding more fruits and vegetables, adding walks, adding little things that ultimately take away from, I think, what a lot of people's goals are, and that's lose weight, lose body fat, lose medication, things that they don't want in their life. But still, for a lot of people, that concept is hard to grasp, and it just doesn't click. And I think for most people, it will eventually. But walk us through right now, if you could give us, I don't believe right now adding anything to my life is going to help my goals. What are 1, 2, 3 things you think the general public might be doing, might be consuming that they could take away? If that's the mentality right now.
Yeah. Well, one, I think they're consuming too much of social media or any like Netflix.
Not what I was expecting to be the first thing.
Right? It's like, because
what role does that play into our health and fitness?
So because one, you're taking up time and mental capacity of like sitting, like we all do this, right? Like we sit on the toilet, we whatever, watching social media, and all of a sudden like we did a 30-minute shit. Like most people didn't need that, right? But like
honey, did you die in there? Like,
you still? Oh no!
I blacked out.
I gotta finish this episode. Like man, The Boys just released episode 5. Love that show, but also grow at the same time. But like you sit there for an extra 10 or 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I say like, look at your day like a movie trailer. Look back at it and think of what were the highlights of your day and where did you spend the time? Did you have an extra 20 minutes when you were taking a shit and watching that video? What could you have done? Could you still watch the video and walk down a treadmill? Can you have that awareness in your day where you say you don't have time, but I guarantee there were little moments to have that time, right? And I know like nobody has the same 24 hours in a day, like the single mom with multiple jobs and stuff. Her 24 hours is different than the 23-year-old college girl or dude or whatever, right? And I'm aware of that. But there are times when you can fit that in your day, whether it's 5 minutes or like some working in instead of working out. So think work in on yourself instead of working out. So sometimes it might be enough for you just to put that phone down for 5 minutes and just like sit there and just be you. Guess what you just did? You just meditated.
Ooh, yeah.
Right? And you think that meditation is and whatever and on the top of a mountain with monks, and no, literally meditation is just the art of doing nothing. Do nothing with yourself. Like, yeah, you want to turn on Ever Forward podcast, amazing, plug, right? That's great, but sometimes turn it off. Unplug for 5 minutes in your day and just breathe.
Yeah, even doing nothing this day and age for most people means still consuming something.
Yes.
If I'm just chilling, I'm doing errands, or I'm cleaning up around the house, look, I would love for you to have Everforward Radio in your ears.
Sure,
that's where a lot of people listen to podcasts. But
Yeah.
like, if you're sitting on the couch, you're scrolling on the phone. If you're watching TV, you're scrolling on the phone.
Exactly.
You're looking at something else. You're very rarely just doing nothing.
You're not present with yourself.
Yeah, no, I say this all the time. It's a pet peeve of mine when I'm out in public and everyone's head down doing this. I'm just like, no one is here. No one is here. No one in the line at the coffee shop, walking errands. I can't tell you how many times I'm walking my dog and owners and their dogs will run into me and my dog because they're this. I'm like, you can't even take your dog out for a 3-minute walk around the block to take a shit.
Yep. And they look at you like you're the asshole.
Yeah, they're like, oh.
Like, bro, you just ran into me.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, just give 5 minutes to yourself a day. Literally do nothing. Or just go and walk outside. No, wow, 2 birds, right? Like, yes, you need to take your phone. Like, if there's an emergency, I get it. But, like, don't be on the phone. Like, put it in your pocket and just walk outside and enjoy the sun. And don't run into Chase while you're walking your dog. Like, literally do that. And look, hey, you're that Everforward guy, right?
I have a couple of neighbors that listen to the show, actually. Yeah. Like, oddly enough, you brought up ketones earlier. They're like, hey, are you the ketone guy? Like, they're running some like targeted ads. Shout out Ketone IQ. I'm like, yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. It is kicking in. It's good.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, like that, I think right there is a lot. Just like have that awareness to replay your day. And where can you pick out those moments to work in on yourself, to work out, right? To be present with yourself. I think that is spectacular. And then program. And I think number 2 would be program your day, your life, whether that's business. Everybody like sets up a business plan, right? You're like, you don't, generally people just don't like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do podcasts, use whatever. Like you have a plan, you know where you're going to go. Like you're going to go to Nashville and then you're going to move on, assuming it works right. So you've got a plan. Why don't we plan out our days out? You plan your work life, you plan your meetings. Why aren't you planning in your time for your walks or your working out or the time for yourself? Like I'm gone all the time. Often now when it's, yes, I want more quantity time with my son, but the quality, if I have quantity and quality, is spectacular. So what I do now is I started looking at myself and looking at my day. If like when I land in Chicago tomorrow, I've got a call almost immediately once I land and I've got notes. I'm going to go, I'll drive for 20 minutes. I'll find a Starbucks or a parking lot. Then I want to be present with that call. It's a very important call. I want to take notes there. Then I've got another call an hour afterwards with our mutual friend Justin. I'll park somewhere. I'll take notes there, as opposed to just like on the driving around, getting ticked off at somebody, driving and looking at their phone, whatever, right?
Yeah, how present can you fully be?
Yeah. So I'll park. So I'll do that, and I know this is good. And there's a point to this because otherwise I'd keep driving, and then once I'd pull in 5 minutes, like, oh, I got to call with Justin. I'd walk in the door. My son hasn't seen me for 5 minutes. Dada. I'm like, I got to go upstairs and take a phone call. So once he sees me, and he's 6, he doesn't understand. I'm like, wait a minute, Dad's home, but he's upstairs. But so now I'll park in the cul-de-sac, whatever. I'll finish that call. I will get everything I possibly can get done before I see him. So from the moment I walk in the door, I'm present with my child.
You can give yourself fully.
Yeah, with my wife. Yeah. Every now and then things come up. Be like, well, Joey, like, yes. Something will come up. Somebody will call. I might have to take that. But at least I got those 2 very important calls done for the day. And I used to like go straight to the gym and I still train some clients. And I just stepped down as a director of this gym because it was too much for me, right? So I'd land, I'd take 2 phone calls, I'd go to the gym, I'd train people at 5, 6, 7 p.m. I live an hour away, then drive there, and then maybe see my son before he goes to bed and then wake up at 4 in the morning and do it all over again. So now I'm like here. I've got the presence of mind to focus on that quality of time with him. So me taking the extra time and parking in the cul-de-sac and getting the calls done allows me more quality time with him. So I had that presence there. I think that's good. And also I think that people, number 3, if we're going back to it, I'll see how fully answered. This is a podcast. I can
is present.
I can hit those ketones. Which to be aware of your fatigue. And where are you fatiguing yourself? And I kind of answer this in question number 2, or answer number 2, is we are so stressed. We're wired and tired all the time. We don't look at the points where we're adding too much stress to our lives. And where can I pull that back? So for me, I used to be like, oh, I'm going to land. I'm going to go train people and do this because I'm going to miss out on, like, I charge $300-$400 a session. I'm going to miss out on $600 and this and whatever, right? I'm not really missing out on that if I get more time with my son. And I can always put those clients in another day. I can figure that. And if I miss a few $100 here and there, it's completely fine. I realized I was adding so much more stress to myself. So when I got here on Thursday, normally I would train Thursday all day long, take the latest flight to LA, get here, and then the next day run a 10, 12-hour shoot with a crew of 30, and they're all looking at me as the executive producer because I packed it in. I realized, you know what? Now I'm going to get to the location where I'm at as early as possible, maybe grab a workout, sit by the pool, walk around whatever city I'm in, and just de-stress, because I know the next day is going to be stressful, because I know I'm not going to sleep as well the night before, no matter how much melatonin and different like, things. I look at my own book for my own chapter, like how to sleep better. Like sometimes when your brain is going, you're just not going to sleep that well. So I know, like, let me take some of that stress, some of that fatigue management off of myself the day before, because these next 2 and 3 days are going to be packed, right? So being aware of that, where can you pull back the fatigue and those stress responses, mechanisms, whatever you want to say, because like working out is stressful. That's a good stress, right? But then if I'm stressing myself working out and I'm stressing myself afterwards, then I'm constantly in this sympathetic state, right? Yeah. So that's where I pull it back. So number one is just like having that full-on awareness of yourself and where can you find that time for yourself. Number two is the kind of time management sort of similar thing. And number three is just where can you pull the fatigue away? And if people started doing this and really just like, and you're not going to do it every day.
Right. Yeah.
And just be aware of that, like aware of my self-hate. If you're aware of that, like, hey, the majority of the day of the week, so I'm going to try to do this. Like I used to like do the night walks and the morning things and whatever. Like I'm going to do them most days. I'm going to do that. But if I don't do that, I'm not going to stress out about not.
Okay.
Right. It's okay. I'm not going to stress out. It's okay not to be okay. Yeah. It's okay not to hit all these things.
I feel like nowadays, because of access to information, to smartphones, to podcasts, to books and influencers and all the things, there's so much access and information, also misinformation out there. Yep. It becomes a lot for most people, especially if you're new in your journey to trying to just put one foot in front of the other. Is our quest to being more healthy causing more harm than good right now?
In a nutshell, yes. It is, because like if you look at everybody, they are just trying to consume all of these things and like have the sleep pad and the infrared and the cold therapy and the whatever, and like, can I do a cold plunge and record that and views and blah blah blah, right? But we were stressing ourselves trying to do everything to be completely optimized and to have all this blood work and have everything else. And I do consulting work for longevity companies, so do your longevity stuff. Once I have a company, then I'll give a shameless plug. But those, for most people, they don't need that. Those are for like your 1%ers and everything else. And people think like, I need to spend all this money. I need to have this bougie gym that has this $3,000 a month longevity program to do whatever it is, or whatever I heard on Ever Forward podcast or Huberman or anything else, right? And those are all great. But what can you like just look back at, like what is just this little nominal, minimal thing that I can do right now and not break the bank and do all this sort of stuff? Like I told you on our pre-call the other day, this lovely individual, she was talking about like, Joey, my trainer said I should come and talk to you about my, GI distress. I don't go to the bathroom every like 4 or 5 days and whatever. She's like, what should I take? Or should I go to the doctor or whatever? And I said, what are you eating? Well, I don't know. Like, how much fiber you're having? You having too much fiber, too little fiber, sugar, alcohol? I don't know. So start there. Just give me a few days.
I don't know.
Yeah, they're like, right. I don't know. That's a
big
huge
red flag.
Your answer is you just answered it. Like people don't look at that. They think I need to go straight to the doctor and spend money on that or take a laxative and like whatever, right? As opposed to just like literally just, like Chronometer, one of my favorite apps. They don't pay me, but it's great. So it's micronutrients, all sorts of stuff, whatever, like track it down, write it down, and then look at it. Like how much fiber am I having? Am I having a bunch of things that have like, that could have digestive distress, like sugar, alcohols or anything like that?
How can you formulate any kind of hypothesis if you have zero data points?
Yeah, you write down, like you take a piece of paper. That paper still works, people. Write it down like, oh, I had oatmeal and whatever for the morning. How did you feel an hour after? I felt great. Okay, and then here I had bread, pasta, and cheese. Actually, it was pretty, I didn't feel great after that. And then I had pizza and whatever. Okay, wait a minute. Let's look at that. So after cheese and lots of this, like maybe it was the cheese, maybe that. Then the next day, look at it and like start going that way. And then you can look at your day and just have that assessment. Like, okay, maybe I need to pull this back.
You got an idea of what to evaluate and play with rather than just grasping for straws kind of thing.
Exactly. And that just overcomplication, as opposed to just simplifying things, will go a long way and save you a lot of money. And then after months and months, and because it will take a long time, like, behavior change takes a long time. Same thing with your gut microbiome, with GI distress, with going to the bathroom, with adding muscle tissue, losing fat. It takes a while. It's not going to happen overnight. Even if you look at like a SSRI or any of these medications, it takes months and weeks to be effective. But people think like, oh my God, I cut gluten, I cut dairy, I became vegan, I should feel better in a day. Going vegan for the first 2 weeks, man, you're gonna be ripping ass like crazy because you're gonna have so much more fiber you're not used to it. So maybe add 10 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories. Something like that. Well, I don't know how many calories I have. Okay, well, how many servings of fruit and vegetables do you have a day? 1. Okay, let's have 2 this week, and then have 3. Right? Like, so simple, yet so hard for people to grasp. But then go simple, and then after months of that behavior change, and if you can legitimately sit down with yourself, I've actually done everything that Chase told me, Everforward told me, right? Joey told me, anything like that, and then like, okay, I've done everything I could and nothing is changing, then maybe you get the biomarkers. Maybe you go to a specialist, a longevity doctor, or GI specialist, anything like that. That's the point after months of that behavior change. So one of my certifications is functional nutrition metabolism specialist. Shout out to Sam Miller and his team. Great.
Oh, I know Sam.
Yeah, Sam's great, right?
Yeah, we launched this podcast years ago.
Yeah, spectacular.
Yeah. So smart.
Yeah, so they have something called SHREDS: sleep, hunger, recovery, energy, digestion, stress. If you look at those things, is your sleep good? How's your hunger? How's your energy? How's your digestion? How's your stress? Those will take care of 80, 90% of all of your issues if you start dialing those in. And then you're like, oh, maybe I do a dried urinary test for comprehensive hormones. That sort of stuff. But people go right to that first and spend the $600 or $1,000, or they hire a me or a you or a Sam, which they're all like great. Sam, like another level, right? But at the same time, like you can literally just break it down that simplistically, and you will be so much better for it. So yes, is my short answer to it. That all of this optimization, everything else, and this polarization of health is making us at least more unhealthy in a stressful manner, and probably ruining our bank accounts because there's a lot of snake oil salesmen too.
I think optimization is the key word and all that. And I feel like an argument probably could be made of why, with all the advancements in technology and the learning curves and mistakes that a lot of people have made, why wouldn't I just go straight to optimize? Why wouldn't I just go to the protocol, to the test, to the lab, to the wearable, to the thing, the process, the product, the service that can just be like, hey, here's exactly all the things going on, and then now do this, execute. Why wouldn't we want to optimize? Why? I'm kind of hearing maybe we should be focusing on getting healthy first, optimization later. But why?
You got to get healthy to lose weight first.
But what if weight loss isn't my goal?
Okay, you got to get healthy to gain weight. You got to get healthy to feel better. You got to mentally, anything. So people and a good health coach will look at those first things and not be like, oh, testosterone's low, let's get on TRT. You know what I mean? That a lot of the ones that are trying to make money will do that. They won't. They'll sell you the supplements. They'll be with whatever. Like they'll
so if one biomarker is low, go straight to supplement or
the
medication.
Good ones. FNMS people, you, me, those people will right away, they will look at your shreds, right? They will look at the sleep, hunger, recovery, energy, digestion, stress. I know I said that fast. They'll look at that first and let's come back in 6 weeks. Let's see what changes. Let's see how your stress is. Let's see how your sleep is. Okay, so for what I did, I got on TRT at 40. I knew my testosterone was low for years and years, like 299, which is like a 7-year-old man.
That's, wow, yeah.
Super low, right? And I knew I would get on testosterone to the point where, one, when I tried everything I could to get my testosterone up naturally, and 2, we were done having kids. Like, you get on testosterone, it's going to be much harder. You're going to shut down the testosterone. And everything I was exposed to, and microwaving and plastics and doing all that sort of crap and living by, power plants, whatever. Possible. So there's all these things, but regardless, I got my sleep on point. I was sleeping, 9 hours a night. I was doing all this. I was having multiple servings of fruit and vegetables a day. I was having a bunch of processed crap. For months, I checked it over and over and over again. It was like 270, 305. It kept being there. And I'm like, okay, I've done everything I could. I took the ashwagandha. I did, you know what I mean? I did everything.
All the dim.
I did all that, right? Yeah. So I did all the adaptogens. I did all of that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't going up. So I knew, okay.
Which doesn't mean those things don't work. It
Yes.
just means that they weren't working for you.
Yes, because if your brain is not telling to produce more, like yes, elevated cortisol levels chronically will hinder testosterone production. And vitamin D levels will hinder that testosterone. But that's only if you're deficient
Not
in
enough
those.
saturated fat in the diet.
Exactly, right.
Yeah,
If
too
you're
little cholesterol.
Yeah, if you're deficient in vitamin D and you add vitamin D, that could help your testosterone levels. But if I'm already fine on vitamin D, taking vitamin D won't increase testosterone levels. So I was doing all of that. I was having like the vitamin testing, all that sort of stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get on TRT now. And that's what I did. And I feel so much better once I kind of regulated that, because I felt like shit for a while because my numbers were too high. And then, so messing with that. So that, to answer your question, is yes, you've got to get healthy first, whether it's to lose weight, to add muscle, to optimize your brain. So those ketone IQs work better when you take them for a podcast, in my podcast voice. But yeah, that's where people really fail. And I see it all the time. Like these TRT clinics, you walk in the revolving door. What are your symptoms? Blah, blah, blah. They will do the blood work. No joke. Subscribe the testosterone before the blood work comes back. Prescribe, not subscribe.
Just based on what the symptoms, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But I've consulted and spoken to these companies before. I'm like, but do you program nutrition? Do you exercise? Do you anything? It's like, no, their testosterone's low. We just give them that. Yeah, so you're getting $400 a month for them. You have 10,000 patients. Wow. Yeah, that's a good business. Like
it's a really good business model right now.
Spectacular right now. And then like the GLP-1s and all that sort of stuff. But nobody is looking at that first. So we need to make sure we're at least at a minimum hitting the protein numbers, and we're hitting the goal numbers for you on your calories, your micronutrients, your macronutrients. So if you need to do 3 smoothies a day, which is much easier to digest than to chew and wait for that food to break down, especially on something that's going to limit gastric emptying.
And it's easy for a lot of people.
Yeah, super easy. Wait, 3 smoothies a day. So I want 3 cups of spinach. I want blueberries. I want a banana.
Need to grocery shop.
I want 2 scoops of whey protein powder. You do that 3 times a day. You got your 1,500 calories and you hit your protein. Boom. Easy, right? And saves you money. So the only 2 people I'm like, I need to see your numbers. Okay. And then that's what I did. So I simple first. And as I knew that they've tried all these different things, they just need that little extra edge, whatever, if you will. And so then hopefully we taper you off of that. And that has worked wonders, because the other people that would want that, and I know that they wouldn't follow my advice, I don't give them this person's name.
And those are all telltale signs to me of a good coach and somebody that knows and is paying attention to the whole person, instead of just symptoms, just labs, just what's trending right now.
Right.
It takes me back to my coaching days. It's like you have a lot of tools in your toolbox to help somebody with, but ultimately it comes down to how are you going to be adherent?
And the right tool.
Exactly. Yeah. So you got to know these things. And so it all matters. It all matters. Another thing I wanted to talk about is that I feel like right now, because optimization and information and biomarkers and wearables, and look, I talk about a lot of those things on the show. Hell, I'm wearing a Whoop. I'm wearing an Apple Watch. I got a chili pad at home on my bed. I get quarterly labs now this year. I'm doing all the things, but I'm 20 years into my health, fitness, wellness journey. I do it all for my reasons right now. And right now, I think another barrier to entry for a lot of people, not even to get optimized, but just to get healthy, is we look at all these things and we see price tag. And there is a lot of money to be made right now. We're talking about, a lot of TRT companies, a lot of GLP-1 companies, a lot of, cold plunge, infrared, all of these wellness facilities, even things you can get and do and take at home. Right. Dollars. And
dollar bills, y'all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even to the point of, Dana White, the UFC MMA founder, we were talking about on the phone the other day. I did a deeper dive into this because I see him popping up all over the place now. He has a $120,000 health protocol. I can't afford $120,000. I don't think I don't think the vast majority of Americans can even fathom what $120,000. And
I bet that's low, by the way.
That's probably that's probably just like let me downplay it. Here are the sexy things, but is wellness becoming only for the elite?
I think when you put it into those terms, yes, because people think that wellness is now only for the elite. It's back with the like organic conversation.
Right, yeah.
Because like, oh my God, I have to be organic to be healthy. No. You look at like the same vitamins, nutrients.
To be healthy, you have to be rich.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, yeah, maybe wash your fruits a little bit more, especially the ones without a thick skin, like the dirty dozen, like all that sort of stuff. Like, it'll still be okay. You can still have the strawberry. Wash it a little bit, like if it's like having the strawberry, having the chips, but it's got the pesticide-filled strawberry. Like I'd rather you have that strawberry. But yes, it is to the point where we are polarizing all this sort of stuff, and like Dana White, or was it I don't know, the founder of Twitter or PayPal or whatever. There was like $1 million protocol. Actually, Sam Miller did an episode on it. It's like $1 million or $2 million.
Or even the Brian Johnson guy, who's like aging in reverse.
Exactly,
like,
yeah. So
cycling his son's blood and some shit.
Just wild stuff, right? I'm drinking my own urine. I'm doing what I'm saying. I say the adrenal pee, but like I've seen that online too.
Yeah, that's a
thing.
Like,
that's a gross thing. Sunning my balls, cool. Or my butthole. It's that you shave beforehand. Jesus Christ. So, anyways,
that's like it's a relevant tangent because these are all things. You're not just like talking out of your sunshine waxed asshole. No, these are all things that
and bleached.
Yeah. I can pick up my phone. I can go to Google, and I can find these things. I'm a legitimate, concerned person trying to lead a healthier life, and these are the things I'm finding.
Yeah, it is terrifying seeing that because it has gotten to the point where you've got all these people thinking they need to do all this sort of stuff, and I love I wish I had the money to spend $120,000 on that. I would because I love doing that.
Some cool toys,
they're cool, but that's like toys. A lot of these are not even proven whatsoever, and then eventually these prices will go down. Now we look
That's
at
a really good point.
Yeah, we look at cryotherapy and like cold plunge. Do you want to do that after strength training? No, you're going to shut down that hypertrophic response, like full on. Now, but also context is king there. Now, if you're a professional athlete, you want to shut down the response as fast as possible if you're in season because you want to recover for the next game, right? So like context completely matters. Back to programming your life and your day. It's like, the cryotherapy and like, well, if I do that after my workout, it's not that can be beneficial. But do you have a board meeting with 100 people the next day and you're on a red-eye flight and you need to be standing and not worried about collapsing with your legs? Yeah, take the cold plunge. But Huberman said 4 hours afterwards. But that context in your life matters. So that's what we really need to take a step back and just look at the context of what we're doing. Does this make sense for us? And is this going to help me? Is this going to hinder me? Or can I just not spend the $50 on the cryo and wait a few hours and take a cold shower or a contrast shower? One of my favorites too, by the way. Like, think about a contrast shower. Here's what you do. If you've never heard of a contrast shower, you start on a lukewarm because it's just nice to do that. Use soap, people. Wash your nice sunned balls, soap it up, lather it up, and then you 20 seconds of cold, 10 seconds of hot. Do several rounds of that. 10 rounds is great. 3 rounds is spectacular. Joey said 10 rounds. 3 rounds is not effective. No, it's good, right? Yeah.
If you live with anybody, I'll say this. Give them a heads up that you're going to do that. When I started to do this in the shower before I got my cold plunge, shout out plunge, thank you very much. I was like making some weird noises in the shower, and my wife would run in. She was like, "What the hell's going on?" And she would get pissed because I would wake her up, and she would think something's going on. I'm like, "No, I'm just like doing hot cold." She's like, "Let me know next time."
Yeah. She's like, because either it's one or the other. Either you're dying or you're taking care of yourself to relax in the evening because you heard that optimization and masturbation right before bed is probably a good thing.
There's another thing.
Now I just started to trend. People are like, I got to beat off right before bed. Like, I don't know, like if that helps you sleep, dude.
What's your self-pleasure contrast therapy protocol?
Don't do cold while you self-pleasure because as a man, that's not going to work out too well.
Protocol. Everything has to be a protocol.
Jesus Christ.
It's, hey, what's your workout protocol? What's your morning routine protocol? What's your, this one sends me, I joked about this with you on the phone too, look, I love Huberman. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Love what he's up to.
Absolutely.
He's done so much for the industry. Love him or hate him. But he came out with this thing. I don't know if he coined the term or whatever, but it's popular because of him. NSDR. Non-sleep deep rest. I'm like, bro, you're taking a break.
Yep.
Why does everything have to be a protocol right now to get people's attention?
Yes. Well, so that's it. You're taking a break. You're laying down for 10 minutes. Yoga nidra, whatever. Like, okay, you're just listening to waves.
Right.
You're listening to somebody talk. Right. We because creatures, we want to be a part of a community. We want to be in a box. Are you the keto guy? Are you the vegan guy? Are you the carnivore guy? And anybody doesn't, and that becomes your religion.
Or in the in crowd.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So your religion, let's just put it that way, right? You Catholic, you Buddhist, you whatever, right? Atheist. Anything that becomes, then you have the right to shit on anybody else who doesn't fit your opinion. And they like, oh, then you belong to this community. We all want to belong. Right? Rarely do you see somebody that's a true, just like introvert, like doesn't care what anybody else says.
Point, yeah.
We want to belong. We want to feel loved. We want to feel a part of a community. So if you look at people's pages and look at like Mark Bell's kind of entertaining to me, but like you look at his page, there's a bunch of assholes who follow him. I'm sorry, Mark. You can bring me on the podcast. You guys can shit on me. You can tell me I don't work out or I'm too big, I'm too small, like whatever. My hair, what's this wave thing going on? You're like, I bought your slingshot, by the way, so you're welcome for the $30.
God, slingshot.
Yeah, slingshot, right?
God, I haven't heard that in forever.
But these pages will often like post these things or make fun of these people, and that all of a sudden gives the right to the people who follow them to be assholes as well. Mark, not saying you're an asshole, but like gives them the right? Liver King, and we can go down this route, and you notice a lot of these people that follow that follow certain pages that gives them the right. They belong in this community, so they can be part of like the people that are bringing you up, bringing you ever forward, or pulling you down, and always regressing. And that's what drives me crazy, because like you're the keto guy, you're the kettlebell guy, or what if you hire a coach and they're always like just this type of person, or the fasting guy. Like that person probably doesn't know what they're talking about. They're only focusing on this one thing, and they've got confirmation bias on only the thing that they want. Like, oh, well, this study says this on keto. This study says this, but then another one comes out like, well, you know what? That one, who is that funded by? You know what? My buddy Alan Aragon says this all the time. Like, people have to be funded by somebody, right? Like, they have to be funded. So it doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to, like, the researchers, not everybody's out to like change, like, oh, dairy, it's funded by dairy, so they say that the whey is good or the dairy is good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's different types of funding and different studies on how everyone wants to shit on everything else, but then they cherry pick all these different little studies, right? Like Paolo Saladino, I had him on my podcast years ago, like he does this all the time. Like, this one woman had celery and got a sunburn from it or whatever. Don't have celery, and then you're the asshole like picking up celery, making people feel bad about eating celery.
Look how hardcore he was on carnivore, and now not anymore.
Yeah, right? Like, wow, you're missing a lot. Yes, because it's a good elimination diet and context, right? For a little bit of time. So yeah, carnivore can do well for a certain amount of time to eliminate these potential things, the FODMAPs, the different type of carbohydrates that could cause some distress. But then using that to start implementing slowly, adding, right, once you took it away, to see what causes those issues. Because people, they just want to be in a community. They want to belong. So I think that, to answer the question, is really why we're seeing so much of this, and then social media. Yeah, dude, it's just we want to belong. We want to be in these silos, right? These information silos. Lane Norton talks about this all the time, and he's actually good at responding to me. So shout out to Lane. But like, it's really one of those things where it just, we want to belong, and I get that. We do. I want to belong. I want to feel loved.
Yeah.
But like, I don't want to feel loved by people that bring others down.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Like, we can have conversations with people. You can have. We're always naturally going to have some sort of bias, totally, because we feel like, back to originally me not posting my child. Somebody's gonna be offended that I'm not posting because they're posting too much. Like Joey, I'm like, no, I don't care. I love that, right? But we're so quick to be offended. But we also don't know how to speak to each other and just have a natural conversation.
Well said.
And just to realize, like, okay, where are these people coming from? Like, yeah, I was kind of probably an asshole a little bit in the elevator, totally with the bros that wanted to know. But like, it just came to that point where I got these questions so much. Like, they were the ones that
it wasn't about them.
It wasn't about them at all.
It was the bajillion times before you got that
But
question.
hopefully I got it across to them enough. Like, hey, it doesn't like just start going, like start somewhere, type thing. But I hope they had the understanding to realize, like, man, maybe this guy gets this. Like, think about it. Like, where was I at? So if I'm those bros, and they stop and think, like, okay, they didn't know my name. It's like Joey. Let's say meathead in the elevator, right? I'm meathead in the elevator, and they're whatever, the bros. Okay, maybe he gets asked this question all the time. Maybe we caught him at a bad moment, and if we have a little bit more of that understanding for one another, then I think we'll be less likely to jump on each other or to like post about how much of an asshole he was or whatever. Think like, you know what? We're all gonna have bad days. It's like when you look at the celebrity, like, I met Matthew McConaughey. So when I was doing Today Show a bunch, Matthew McConaughey, and Matthew were listening to this, like, I don't wrong you for anything of this. we were in all the green room together, and you've been like in the green rooms on the TV shows. Yeah. So today's shows are like one big green room, and like if you're like just a regular guest, you're kind of like getting your makeup done. If you're Blake Shelton and Matthew McConaughey, they have their own separate green room within like kind of the green room area. Blake Shelton comes walking out. Hey, y'all doing? How you doing? Or whatever, like shaking hands. I'm like, because you're either on the show or you're a producer, so you're part of it. It's not like I'm some fanboy, right? Like, yeah. I'm like exactly how I would think Blake was. Maybe he had some whiskey beforehand. I don't know, like whiskey or bourbon, whatever his thing's, right? And he was like exactly how I think it'd be. Like now, it's not a story. Like, Mom, Blake came out and he was exactly how I thought it'd be. McConaughey walked out, head down. It was like, Matthew, and it just like walking out. And my first thought was like, wow, what an asshole, right? I don't know what he experienced earlier in the day. I don't know if he was hounded by the paparazzi or something else came out, or he didn't get any sleep, or his wife, I don't know if he's married, or a wife or a kid or whatever, he had an argument, or he's doing something, or got like some movie fell through. I don't know. But that was my first thought. And like 30 seconds later, I'm like, you know what? He can have a bad day too. It doesn't matter that I'm on the show with this guy. Now, if I'd have said hi or something like completely rude to me, like I think it'd been a different story. But I see these other people that were like, I was helping some, viewers out, like losing weight and whatever. They're like, oh, he didn't even talk or whatever. Like, like maybe he had a bad day or he's got something to do. If we just had a little bit more of that compassion for one another, realizing like, yes, he's getting walked up to all the time. When I was training Terrence Howard, it was he had this beautiful penthouse in Chicago. Fox was fitting my bill, which thanks Fox for paying that. It was pretty good for a few months. And we'd go and work out in the common area of this swanky apartment building. And I said, here's the deal, Terrence. Let me be the asshole when people want to come up to you. Because even though you're living in the same building with these people, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? So, and I said, people come to you a lot. He goes, I can't even go outside. Because he's very, especially when Empire was huge, he's very recognizable. Like you recognize him right away. And since Terrence has come out some Joe Rogan podcast and said some interesting things.
That was wild. I watched that.
People sent me so much stuff. And I'm like, man, like so much stuff. So Terrence, like, bro, like he is. Yeah, Mensa smart dude, is super, super smart.
I had to rewatch those clips like 5 times. I was like,
I'm like, bro. So I'm like, here's the deal. Let me be the asshole. He kind of looks at me. I'm like, because I know people want to come up to you during our workouts, but let me shut them down. So they'd be like, hey, Terrence Howard's trainer's an asshole, as opposed to you trying to do. Because then people would come up and they'd be like, hey, Terrence, or they'd like have their phone up trying to pretend to be on the phone and taking a picture. Be like, hey guys, like when we're done, if we're still here, whatever. Some guy came up who has a trainer who, ironically, years later, I ended up hiring as a trainer. And he said I met him and I cussed him out. This is funny.
No shit.
Super funny. Yeah. Saeed, if you listen to this. So he came, he's like, I met you years ago. I'm like, what? He's like, I used to live in Terrence Howard's building. He's like, I came up, I was talking to Terrence right when you guys were about to work out. And he kept like, I'm like, okay, we're about to work out, man. Like, cool, whatever. And he kept sitting there. I'm like, hey, we're about to work out. I'm like, hey, dude, we're about to fucking work out. This is his time. You got to go. And he kind of, and Terrence is like, oh man, I'm sorry. Like my trainer, he wants to get going. So
he gets to say the good guy.
Yeah, he gets to say, as opposed to him being the asshole. Because then forever, that guy's gonna have that story about how Terrence was an asshole, but now he's got the story how I was the asshole. So then years later, he told me after I hired him, like weeks later, he's like, I actually met you or whatever. He's like, man, you were such an asshole. I said, then I told him the story. He's like, that makes so much sense. Because otherwise I would have thought like Terrence, like whatever it was being a jerk. I said, but people keep coming up to him all the time, and he was so nice, especially in his own building. He didn't want to like be rude if you ran into him and have a conversation. Like sometimes he just wants to go and his wife is pregnant. Go like see his wife and not spend 20 minutes talking about Empire in the elevator or whatever, right? Yeah. So I was the asshole. So people listening, just allow grace for yourself and allow grace for anybody else when you think immediately like, what a dick, first impression, anything like that, because everybody has a bad day, and especially if in the public eye. And I say this all the time, sometimes those people that have the most light shined on them have the most darkness.
The brighter the light, the bigger the shadow, right?
Yeah.
Darker the shadow, at least.
Yeah.
I want to ask another question while I have the minimum method expert here on the show before we kind of begin to wrap up.
Sure.
Once we kind of cross that threshold of I've reached my goals, I've achieved my dream body and realize it's nowhere near what I wanted it to be or thought it had to be.
It will never be, by the way.
Absolutely. I feel like once you kind of lay those bricks and you have those foundational habits, I'm talking years later, maintenance becomes, in my opinion, pretty damn easy. And I think a lot of people overthink maintenance of, oh, I missed my protein today, I'm going to lose all my gains. Or I'm off my program, I'm going to lose all my strength. I'm traveling this week. I'm not hitting my frequency like I used to or want to. Talk to us about maintenance. And in your opinion, is there still the minimum method able to be applied to maintenance?
Yes, absolutely. And you're right. Maintenance is easier to maintain as opposed to getting to that point. Because often, you do need to push a little bit more and add a little bit more sets or volume or cardio or cut calories here, wherever you can.
And by maintenance, sorry,
Yes.
maintenance, I mean like preserving your current body composition.
Yes, and thank you for clarifying that. So yes, absolutely. Now, if you get down to 5% body fat, are you going to be able to maintain that? No, it's not going to happen. But what I say is allow yourself kind of a range. So for me, I got all the way up to 245 when I was doing nationals with bodybuilding or for physique.
What do you know?
I'm like 218, right?
That's a big difference.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I'm 6'3", so I'm a big boy. Yeah, Chase saw me, he's like, man, you were jacked. You're the most attractive man I've ever seen in my life. I'm like, thanks, bro.
Exact quote.
Exactly. That's
quote.
exactly what happened, right?
Somehow it didn't make it on the air, though. It's so weird, yeah.
But yes, because you're not going to and one, single digit body fat numbers is very, very temporary, and nor is that healthy. Guys should be around like maybe lowest 10%. It can fluctuate. It's context, right? Some people, optimally, operate 6-7%, and they're fine and they feel great. But when I was single digit body fats, I felt terrible. I could not even get an erection if I wanted to. Your hormones are all over the place. You're not sleeping well. There's all sorts of crap happening there. Females stop menstruating. Relative energy deficient syndrome, where they're working out too much, they're losing their period, all sorts of stuff happening there. So getting to that physiological aesthetic level, no, you're not going to be able to maintain that. But to maintain like, hey, I look healthy, I've got muscle, I can see my abs, whatever your goal is, yes, you can maintain that much better. But I say give yourself a little breathing room. So say I was 245, let's call it 218 today. I'm going to get down to about 210, roughly. And then I've got a fluctuation where I can be like 210 to 215, where I feel okay about that. Where yes, I'm gonna go probably I've got a photo shoot tonight. I'll probably grab sushi, something like that. If I was to weigh myself the next day, if I got to 210, I might be 215, 216. Most of that's gonna be carbohydrates, sodium, whatever. I'm not gonna feel bad about that. And then I go back to a few days of eating my normal style, and I might be 213, 214. But I've got that range, and I know that right now my maintenance is I don't do any cardio, traditional forms of cardio, except for maybe I'll go for a run to get a nice tan because it's shirtless, Santa Monica.
While in LA.
Around LA.
Yeah.
But I hit 10,000 steps a day, regardless. Even in the hotel room, if I'm at 9,700, no joke, I was at 19,000, 1,700 last night. I went to the Dodgers game. Ohtani, home run, that was cool. One of those like check it off the bucket list things. Dodgers, can you guys fix the parking? It's terrible.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, so I walked 300 steps back and forth in my hotel because I was at 19,700.
9,000.
Your
goal is 20,000.
Well, yesterday I would hit because I walked around.
Okay,
so let's say my goal was 9,700. I was at 9,700. I would still walk around my house, whatever, to hit that in that day, right? So I'm just maintaining that number. That has helped me out tremendously. Found that I can back off of sets. I don't have to go as hard. So I go like 1 to 3 reps short of failure. Why? Because yes, if you look at optimization, like maybe taking like 1 rep short of failure or pushing that last set to failure, maybe you can get that little bit more muscle tissue. But if we're looking at research, 1 to 3 reps, even cutting the 3 reps, you're still going to be like 90-ish% there. So we're still going to have gains. You're still going to maintain that. One hard set, working set can maintain your muscle tissue per body part every few days. So I backed off on my sets to maintain, and actually I found myself progressing in other areas of life because I feel better. So some days I may only work out 3 days a week instead of 6 or 7. And one time I worked out 110 days in a row without a day off, multiple times a day. Don't do that. It's not good.
It's like a third of the year.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? And I tracked it like multiple times. I even threw my back out during it. I still did arms and whatever, right? But that was too much. So I was to get to that point. So now 3-4 days a week when I'm out of town, often like my boys want to work out or whatever, like I'll go do that. And sometimes it'll be twice a day. Tomorrow when I'm on the plane, I'm not working out at all. I'll hit my 10,000 steps. I'm going to spend the time with my son, and I'll back off the calories a little bit. Back to maintenance, right? And then tomorrow I'll probably even have less because I'm going to be moving a little bit less. So I don't need to have that many calories. I don't need to hit my protein numbers tomorrow because it's just going to be a 4-hour flight. I'm fortunate enough to be able to fly first class. I'll take a nap, whatever. I probably won't get as much sleep tonight. I'll sleep on the plane. Then, maybe eat 2 or 3 times tomorrow and not be concerned about it because I know that at that maintenance level, I can back off. I can still get there. And when I want to dial it up a notch, I got a photo shoot coming up. It only take me a week or 2, just like cut a little bit of water, do some like different stuff to like aesthetically look better. And that maintenance, literally, you can back off depending on what you're at. But I'd say you can back off 50% of what you're doing. And then that allows so much more time in your day. And often your body will start looking better because you have less stress.
So true.
It is
So
crazy.
true.
It happens all the time with clients of mine.
Yeah.
I tell them, like, when I'm like, here's the deal. You got a 50th birthday party or birthday coming up. We're going to hit it hard for 3 months. And I'll give them goals for the month, not the week. I want you to work out with me 12 times this month. You go on a business trip for a week. We're doubling up the next week. As opposed to, like, if I say 3 days a week, they're like, I missed a week, I can do 3 days next week. No, now you're doing 5 days, and then 5 days to catch up to that volume I want them in the month. So that's a good thing, a good little change right there.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
So you do, that's a good sales tactic too, by the way, for selling training.
Keep those minimum sessions coming in.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So you do that, and then I said, now when you go on your trip, I don't want you to work out at all. Mm-hmm. Use this as your deload week, your de-stress week. Whatever, still walk around, do whatever, but don't worry about working out.
Yep.
I said 2-3 days afterwards or into your trip, you will probably look better. Mm-hmm. Inflammation goes down, the carbohydrates will load nice, your muscle will be nice and full. What happens when bodybuilders get on stage? Often they back off that last week. They back off on lots of things. They back off on things they're taking. They back off on working out. They back off on that stress response because they want to look as dry and as hard as possible because that inflammation around the joints and tissue will almost create a blunting effect on the body and seeing the muscle fibers on stage. So a lot of them will back off the volume because they're so stressed anyways from lack of sleep and everything else that they're taking. So I see that a lot in clients when I have them back off on volume, and that shows you care too, right?
Right, you're considering the human, the whole experience.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Chase, I want you to work out less. We've been hitting it hard for 3 months.
Yeah.
So I want you to take off this week. Or you come in, you just want to get an arm pump, cool. Do 2-3 sets of arms. Just to feel like mentally, if that makes you feel good, cool. But that main is like once you get to that point, so have that goal, right? So now back to when we started to keep moving ever forward.
New drinking game.
Yeah,
every time Joey says ever forward.
You're wasted.
Taking shots of muscle milk
or ketones, right? You'd be the smartest person ever. So you have that, like, okay, you've got your why.
Yeah.
Now we have our how, your purpose, your plan, and your path. You have your purpose, you have your plan, and that path can always change, but stay on it.
So Joey, bring us home, man. I feel like you've definitely woven it into your story and your insights and your expertise in this conversation so far. But ever forward, what does that mean to you? How do you live a life ever forward?
Ever forward is being self-aware. Ever forward is realizing that you're going to take steps back. Ever forward is realizing that you are going to fail. You're going to fall on your face. But can you scrape yourself off of that concrete, wipe off the blood, have that scab on your face and say, I am moving forward because I've fallen down. And that's how you move ever forward.
This is going to seem really random, but it reminds me of, I'm a big Weeknd fan. And I forget this song, but I think it's off of his old trilogy album. And it's this line that sticks with me to this day. And it's like, I'm going to butcher it. I'm not afraid to fall because I've felt the ground before, So you're basically the Weeknd, what I'm trying to say.
I am the Weeknd. I can't pull off the ponytail that he had and whatever that show that got canceled was, but I appreciate it. I'll be the Weeknd.
Yeah, good vibes, man. Well, we got the minimum method here. Yeah. The least you can do to be a stronger, healthier, happy you. I'm going to have this link for everybody down in the show notes, video notes. Check it out. And so I love your message and how you go about helping people and the example you set by living your own life. And I think it's a good reminder that we need to come back to that our dream body, our dream life, our dream whatever, it takes less than we think it is going to. It takes work and it takes consistency.
Yes.
But we don't need $120,000 protocol in order to make it happen. If you get to that point, you can have all the toys. Good for you. You figure out how to way to work and have that. But it doesn't take a lot. It's simple. It's simple.
Complexity,
it just takes compounding.
Complexity and the simplicity.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, where can my audience go to connect more with you?
Yeah. Joey Thurman Fit on all socials, Joey Thurman Fitness on YouTube. But yeah, Joey Thurman Fit, totally will kind of get you everywhere. Minimum Methods available in stores. Amazon is, easiest place. I even ordered Amazon too. Because I forgot.
My man ordered his own book.
I ordered my own book. That's how I get sales high. I ordered my own book, even though I've got hundreds of copies from Ben Bella Publisher sitting at my house. But that's okay.
Thank you. Thank you.